In August 2020, a single overlooked bug inside a cheap in-game apartment threatened the one thing Rockstar Games protects above all else: GTA Online's economy. And it wasn't a massive server hack, and it didn't come from a team of elite modders, but for a brief moment, it gave players a loophole to completely bypass the game's multi-million-dollar grind, sparking an aggressive game of cat and mouse between a multi-billion-dollar corporation and its own community. To understand why Rockstar cared so much, you have to look at how grueling the game actually was back then. In 2020, if you wanted the newest supercar or high-end business, it routinely cost millions of dollars. And to earn that legitimately, you basically had to treat the game like a second job, running the exact same heist and cargo missions for hours and hours just to afford a single item. Rockstar intentionally made the grind agonizing because they wanted to protect the value of the game's economy, and ultimately push players towards buying shark cards with real money. But this apartment bug completely flipped the entire script. It allowed veteran players to exploit a flaw in the property trade-in system, printing over $40 million an hour with virtually zero risk. This video is the breakdown of the apartment glitch and the unprecedented war it started between Rockstar and its player base. We're going to look at the entire story loop from Take-Two desperately weaponizing copyright strikes to scrub tutorial videos off of YouTube to the community's cocky defiance when they bypassed the first patches. We'll look at the brutal scorched earth punishment wave that followed, where Rockstar took back total control by permanently erasing 7 years of legitimate player progress overnight. When the Los Santos Summer Special dropped in August of 2020, it looked like a fairly ordinary update on paper. It featured a handful of new missions, some vehicles, and a few quality of life additions. But buried deep inside the code was a massive oversight involving how the property slots update. Normally, when you trade in an expensive property for a cheaper one, the game updates that slot with the new property's value. But after this update, sometimes it just simply forgot to. If you replaced an expensive property with a cheap one, the game could keep remembering the original price. So when you sold that cheap property, it paid you as if you were selling the expensive one instead. One of the properties involved cost roughly around $25,000. Players would buy it, trade it, and sell it for over $2 million. Then they would just buy it again. The community figured out this cycle almost immediately, and it quickly went from a glitch to a literal money printer. What made this so devastating to the economy was the barrier to entry. It was fairly easy to get this started. The only issue was you needed one of the more expensive CEO office setups. You also needed multiple property slots and enough experience to understand how the property system worked. This was not only thousands of new players stumbling into free money, but also veteran grinders. They were pulling in roughly $2 million every few minutes with almost no risk and no setup cost. Run the cycle for an hour and you'd end up with somewhere around $40 million, a number that takes potentially a few weeks to a few months to legitimately achieve. Glitches like this don't stay secret for long. A clip will probably get posted in a Discord server somewhere, someone will then upload a YouTube video, and suddenly it's absolutely everywhere. Every GTA creator was uploading the same format: bright, high contrast thumbnails with giant red arrows shouting, "Solo money glitch, do this before it gets patched." The exploit spread across the internet in record time, but then Take-Two made an unusual move. Instead of issuing community guideline strikes, they began hitting tutorials with copyright strikes. This is the nuclear option usually reserved for leaked trailers. It was an extremely strange way to handle an exploit, almost as if they were desperately trying to contain the spread without publicly acknowledging the problem. Eventually, Rockstar rolled out a silent background patch. One day it worked and the next it didn't. Usually this is where the story ends, but just a few weeks later, players discovered a different method to trigger the exact same exploit. The money printer was back online and it became obvious Rockstar was going to have to escalate things. Everyone abusing the glitch knew that the money wouldn't last forever and that a real patch was coming. And history told them exactly what to expect: a standard Rockstar money wipe. That's the routine penalty where the devs just sweep through the database and drain your maze bank account back to zero. But they do leave your actual rank and assets alone. But the veteran glitchers thought that they were smarter than Rockstar. They relied on a loophole that had worked for years. Rockstar could claw back your cash, but they almost never touched the cars or properties that you already bought. So the community started laundering the money. Players went on an insane spending spree, maxing out every single property and garage slot that they own, and they bought one vehicle over and over again, which was the Deluxo. The Deluxo was perfect because it was incredibly expensive and didn't require a special trade-in price to buy, which meant it gave you the highest possible resale value at Los Santos Customs. So within days, players were filling multiple 10-car garages wall to wall with rows of identical flying DeLoreans. The logic was simple: dump your glitched billions into a fleet of cars, let Rockstar wipe your bank account back to zero, and then just sell the cars back one by one whenever you need cash. cash. People were all over Reddit and YouTube bragging about their Deluxo insurance policies, completely convinced they had beaten the system, but they had absolutely no clue what was actually coming next. A single quiet sentence appeared on Rockstar's support page confirming that players caught abusing property trade-ins could have their GTA Online characters reset. Not banned, reset, just everything wiped. The next day, the true scale of that one word hit the community. Trusted GTA insider Tez2 reported a coordinated wave of account resets hitting thousands of players. Imagine logging in for a heist with a few of your friends only to be greeted by a screen telling you that your character was gone. Every dollar, every vehicle, and every business, years of progression completely erased. Some of these accounts had been active since the game launched in 2013, all wiped overnight just for abusing a bug Rockstar had accidentally introduced. The fallout across the community was immediate, shifting rapidly from shock to pure resentment. For years, Rockstar's standard response to a money glitch was just a money wipe, a targeted strike that clawed back the illegitimate earned cash but left the player's rank, cars, and legitimate achievements intact. Jumping straight to the nuclear account reset was a total shift in policy. On places like Reddit, players who had logged in only to find their profiles wiped clean didn't hold back. One user voiced a sentiment shared by thousands, writing, "Of course we're gonna exploit your broken system when you fuck up, but a full reset? Yeah, fuck that, I'm out." Others immediately uninstalled the game, convinced that the harsh punishments were just a predatory tactic to force players into buying shark cards. For the veterans who hadn't touched the exploit, watching their friends lose everything was jarring. As of one player put it, "Good thing I was too lazy to do this glitch. If my character was reset, I'd cry. I'd have to hold a funeral for him, he's been here since day one." Even among those who accepted their fate, there was still a sense that Rockstar was using them to send a message. One regular glitcher reflected on why the hammer fell so hard this time. They kept slapping our wrists for years, and people were more than willing to face a money wipe for the sake of the riches. Rockstar had to make an example out of us to really hinder the glitches. But the hypocrisy of the situation is what truly fueled the backlash. The community quickly launched petitions demanding Rockstar restore their legitimate progress, pointing out a massive double standard. For years, public lobbies had been plagued by malicious modders who could teleport entire servers, spawn endless explosions, and crash the game at will, often surviving for months without a ban. Yet, a veteran player who abused a property glitch in a solo lobby could lose 7 years of progress in an instant, with no warning and no system for appeal. Rockstar never publicly addressed the outrage or explained the severity of the punishment, but looking at GTA Online strictly as a business makes the answer fairly obvious. Every tedious grind and overpriced vehicle is just a part of the economy designed to give shark cards real-world value. Thousands of players generating $40 million in an hour wasn't just a bug, it was a direct threat to the game's revenue model. The apartment glitch didn't actually break GTA Online's economy because Rockstar made sure it never got a chance, but for a brief period in 2020, the entire progression system was rendered pretty much useless. GTA Online has seen hundreds to thousands of glitches over the years, most forgotten within weeks and overshadowed by the next exploit. But the apartment glitch is remembered because it was the moment Rockstar showed exactly how far they were willing to go to protect the empire that they had built. Almost 6 years later, the community still hasn't forgotten about this glitch, and I don't think they ever will.